For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? So how many times have you started something, whether it be a project or a hobby, maybe building a fence like I'm building a fence in my house right now, building a house, building a relationship, or building anything for that matter, right? And it didn't work out because you didn't sit down first and really think about it and analyze and salah and count the cost, right? You didn't think about how much it was going to cost you in the end first, right? So this is a cornfield to my left, right? This is a sugarcane field to my right, right? Many people would love to be able to own their own field or fields, right? And grow whatever it is they like to grow, right? But many don't really know how much it would cost them in order to do that, right? Many people just see the benefits or they see the end result, but they don't think about what really goes into that in order to grow whatever it is you like to grow, right? Whether it's the work you have to put in, whether it's the monetary cost, the money, right? Whether it's the mental or spiritual cost it would take to actually cultivate a field, right? This is why there's so much farmland for sale in South Texas where I'm at, but also just in general all around the United States. And I've heard in other countries as well, there's a lot of farmland for sale, right? It's because the last generation is dying off or they're getting too old in order to work the land, right? So what happens is they are no longer necessary, or they are no longer able to provide the necessary things to cultivate and to reap from the land. So now the next generation comes along, which normally is their children, right? Because that's one thing about these other nations of people I'll give to them is that they keep it in their families, right? A lot of these other nations have inheritances to give to their families, to their children, to their children's children, because they are prudent and they think farther ahead, right? More so than a lot of Israelites do. But anyways, they pass it to the next generation, and the next generation is either too lazy to actually do it, or they just don't have the necessary skills or money or time or energy or whatever it is to try to carry on with working that land, right? So this is very similar to how men, especially, also women, of course, but I'm speaking to you brothers mainly. Y'all would love to have relationships or marriages, right? Godly marriages. But the problem is, like it says in Luke 14:28, a wise man is first going to sit down and count the cost, right? Count the cost. Got some of these peach melons growing all over. It's beautiful. Amaranth growing wild here. Parslane everywhere. You don't even got to plant it. Some amaranth right here, right? That's parslane actually. All edible plants. That's parslane. All right, just for some of y'all, you ever end up in a survival situation, look up foods that grow naturally in your area, right? But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that many brothers want to own fields, right? In Sirach 34, it says that when a man gets a wife, he begins a possession, a help like unto himself. Many brothers want a wife, want multiple women, multiple wives, but they don't even understand or count the cost of what it's actually going to cost them in order to make that a successful, godly marriage, right? Just like many people want to own their own fields, right? Their own land. But you first have to count the cost and see if you have what's necessary in order to build up that land or that marriage or that woman or those women, right? Because what a lot of brothers don't understand is that we are the people of the curse. Israelite women, men too, but women specifically have gone through more trauma than any other women. The Black, Hispanic, and Native American women are like 2 or 3 times more likely to go through some type of sexual or mental assault or harassment throughout their lives, right? So it takes a man with wisdom and time and energy to be able to even pour into that woman, water her daily with the word, talk to her with wisdom, to have patience, etc., right? So any of y'all who've been following me for any period of time, really, on Instagram or on YouTube, you know that I'm a big supporter of marriages, right? A big supporter of marriage, biblical marriages, of course, Bible-based wisdom in these marriages. But maybe it's something I've lacked speaking on in the past, or just people don't realize in general enough, is that you have to count the cost before you can even start to build a successful marriage, right? Because it's just like these fields, man. Maybe you have money to buy 1 or 2 or 3. Maybe you got the money, the finances to support a woman or multiple women, right? Multiple households, right? But that doesn't mean that you have the skills or the wisdom or the tools to cultivate that field, right? And in reality, you know, being able to buy a field, that's really just the beginning of the sowing and cultivating and reaping process, right? You got to have manpower or machines to work these fields, right? You have to have wisdom on how to work the machines to work the field, right? You have to have energy and money and time in order to plant all those seeds, much like in a marriage or even a courtship, right? Then you also have to have the same in order to water them sufficiently, day-to-day basis, right? You may not water a field day by day, but you have to water your marriage day by day, according to Ephesians, the 5th chapter, 21 on down, right? So now comparing this to a marriage or a courtship with a woman, many men just want to be married so they can say that they have a wife, say that they have multiple wives, and so they can, let's keep it real, right, have somebody to have sex with, right? Especially in this hypersexualized society. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look, you're gonna see sex being pushed on you, right? Whether it's TV, whether it's listening to the radio or music, whether it's on commercials, whether it's on YouTube, on social media, everywhere is sexualized, right? Hypersexualized, which is why it's good to be like Jeremiah 6:16 and follow those old paths. What out here is hypersexualized, right? But that's for a different topic, different video, right? So let's be real. A lot of men want to just have sex with a woman, and that's why they want to get married. And I've been hearing from a lot of sisters that this is happening more and more. So you sisters need to be very careful when it comes to proving a man. A lot of you are too hasty to credit someone, right? According through social media, you don't know if that man is really a man of the Most High. You got to go through certain things. You got to go through certain trials in order to prove a man, right? The Most High says, prove all things. He's going to prove you and see if you're proving others as well. And if you're not, then you may be that woman that is wicked, the wicked woman that's given to a wicked man. And then he may just leave you, right? Leave you stranded, leave you by yourself, like I've seen happen a lot lately, sadly. But again, if we would apply the Bible and apply the instructions that are given to us, this type of thing wouldn't be happening, right? But anyways, I digress. A real man of wisdom is going to sit down first and sincerely and meticulously count the cost of how much and what exactly it's going to take in order to take that field or courting or testing process and eventually marriage, and see first if he's willing to put in that much time and energy and money, and to be real with himself, to be real with that woman, and in reality be real with the Most High, because the Most High sees all things, right? His eyes are 1,000 times brighter than the sun, right? And then also, if he can actually, if he even has it in him, if he has sufficient to actually build that in the correct manner, right? Does he have the tools necessary, the energy and the money necessary in order to build that marriage and build up that woman according to wisdom, which is according to the instructions that were given to us by the Heavenly Father through his word, through the Bible, right? See, the problem many times is not with acquiring a field, right? To not to be prideful or nothing like that, but I could go out into the world and just find any woman to sleep with. Not any woman, but y'all get what I'm saying. There's many loose women everywhere you go, right? That's not the problem. Acquiring the field isn't the problem many times, right? The problem mostly lies later in time after acquiring the field, right? You're too hasty to acquire a field without first counting the cost, and then realizing later on that you don't have what it takes in order to sow and cultivate and water and then reap from that field, right? Which is why the scriptures say not to be hasty in what you're doing, in your words and in your deeds, because you're going to be slack and remiss. You're being slack with what you're trying to do, and you're going to miss the target every time when you're being too hasty to just get something done, right? A lot of brothers come into this truth, and the first thing they do is look for a wife. The first thing you got to do is get enough wisdom for you. The first thing you got to do is get the principal things of life, right? A home, a vehicle, a way of providing, whether that be a job or some type of side hustle, etc., right? We can't be too hasty, because remember, there's a very specific punishment for people that lead others astray. And a lot of sisters are coming into this truth, and they are new to the truth, and they're falling victim to brothers, and these brothers are leading them astray from the Father. And even some of them are falling out the truth, because they're like, man, well, if this was a man of the Most High and he did this and he married me and then just left me high and dry, and it kind of turns them off from the truth, right? It's better for a millstone to be tied around your neck and you to be thrown into the ocean than for you to lead one of these young ones astray. That's not just talking about children. That's talking about people that are new to this truth, right? So we have to understand this when it goes for anything, right? So those with ears to hear, you got to first sit down and count the cost. Do you have sufficient to start, to go through the whole process, and to finish it? Because if not, then it may not be time. It's not time for you to start, right? And this can also be applied to the kingdom as well. Those with eyes to see and ears to hear, all praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.